Hello friends and neighbors, Scott here in front of a low quality whiteboard with maybe some sketchy glare, just trying to shoot a quick video. I know most of my stuff is about here's a plant you can eat or here's how to use this thing for medicine, but I wanted to do just a short video and talk about the relationship between humans and plants or between animals and plants, just to help us all appreciate this grand cycle that we belong to and how we need the plants and the plants need us, and we are actually beneficial to one another. So it all starts with the sun. So sunlight comes down and the plants are pretty uniquely capable of transforming. They absorb that sunlight, transform the energy into a form of stored chemical energy. And what happens is, of course, the sunlight goes into the chloroplast, into the chlorophyll, and the plant is also absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. That's their breathing. And then the roots are going to absorb some good old H2O, some water. And all of these are going to come together in this box here. We have our components. We have H2O, that's 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen. There's our water. We have the energy from the sun and carbon dioxide, or 1 carbon and 2 oxygens. And what the plant will do is it will break apart the carbon from the oxygen, and it's going to stick the carbon, basically it sticks it onto the water, into a carbohydrate. Now there are several forms of carbohydrates, but all of them are made from carbon, and I guess you could say water. It's not that it's literally water anymore, but they're made from carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So carbo is for carbon, hydrate represents the hydrogen and oxygen, the water. And there's glucose, there's fructose, there's sucrose, cellulose. That we can't get energy out of cellulose. That's more of a building material, but they store it. And then this little oxygen molecule is a leftover. The plant doesn't need that, so the plant is going to breathe that out. That comes out of the leaves. That's its waste byproduct, which is relevant to my interests as a air-breathing human. So the plant can store whatever form of the carbohydrates are. They can store them in the leaves, in the vacuoles of the cells, the plant cells, in the roots, like if it has a bulb or a tuber. Sometimes they can store them in the stems, just wherever. It's going to store that energy up. And when a mammal comes along and I decide to eat that bulb or that stem or maybe the fruit, then I'm going to consume those stored carbohydrates. And these are, you can think of them kind of like little chemical batteries, in the same way that, imagine if I had a solar panel that ran to a battery charger, and that solar panel is going to convert the solar energy into an electrical current, and then that's going to use that to store the energy in the form of a potential chemical energy in the battery. The batteries are going to have 2 different chemicals, and it's stored there until I put it in some device, and that transforms it back into electrical energy. So the plant is doing something like that. It's converting the solar energy into a stored chemical energy, which is kind of like a battery. We could think of it like that anyway. So I come along and I eat these carbohydrates, these little chemical batteries, whether I eat an apple or a celery stalk or whatnot. Not many carbohydrates in a celery stalk, maybe that's a bad example. But I eat these, and I'm also going to breathe in that oxygen because I do enjoy not suffocating. And then in my body, I'm going to kind of do the opposite of what the plant did. So I'm going to take this carbohydrate that it's made, and in my body I'm going to break that apart and shake out all the juicy, delicious energy from that carbohydrate. And that leaves me with the carbo part is the carbon. And what am I going to do with this carbon? I really need to do something with it. I think I'll just attach it to the oxygen that I breathed in. So now it is carbon dioxide, and I can breathe that out, and that is relevant to the plant's interest. And the hydrate part, what I have left over is a bunch of hydrogens and oxygens. Well, let's just organize those into water, and I have lots of ways to get rid of water. That also can come out in my breath through the moisture in my breath, the water vapor. I can sweat water out. I can pee water out. I got lots of choices. So the water leaves my body. Hey, that is also relevant to the plant's interest because plants need water too. Well, don't we all like water? And so we have this wonderful cycle right here. we obviously need the plants to get the energy from the sun in the first place and change it into something usable for us. And we need the oxygen that those plants are breathing out, and we need to absorb the energy that they've converted and stored. But we're not just the predators, the bad guys in the situation, because yeah, the plants don't need us for that energy source, but the plants do need us for the carbon dioxide. Now I know right now there's a lot of climate talk about carbon dioxide, but let's imagine that all air-breathing creatures just poof disappeared off of Earth. For a long, long time, the plants would have plenty of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, long time, but eventually the plants would use up all of the available and usable carbon dioxide. The atmosphere would be much more O2 rich, much richer in oxygen, and well, they would suffocate. Now, there are some natural processes that can release carbon dioxide, but I'm assuming that, we're talking millions and millions of years, and eventually all of the usable carbon dioxide gets expelled, it gets used, and well, now the plants all die because we really do need each other. We have a circle and a cycle. And I think of the character Poison Ivy from Batman. She doesn't want people to harm the plants, and it may seem like we're, if you were to arrange it in like a storybook, it may seem like we're the bad guys because we go and we get the plants and we eat the plants, ha ha ha. But think about this: when any animal dies, our bodies decompose, which provide nutrients for growing plants. So in a sense, we eat the plants, and then later the plants eat us. Not like they don't chase us down and eat us, but through the decomposition process. Of course, humans now get embalmed, so we're kind of like breaking the deal. We're not returning to the soil. Also, part of the deal, like when they make a fruit, part of the deal is we're supposed to eat the fruit, and that gives us energy, and then we're supposed to poop out the seeds out in nature, and then the seeds have been moved to a new location where hopefully it's a good place and they have fertilizer, but now we use septic treatment plants, so we're kind of breaking the deal there. But that's this wonderful system. By the way, if the plant doesn't always want to use that energy just immediately. We talked about it storing it. It can break these back up through a process called the Krebs Cycle, unless I've switched that name around in my head with another one. It's been a long time since I've had my botany, but I think that one is the Krebs Cycle. For us, when we absorb these carbohydrates, if we're not going to use them right away, we eat something and it can't just sit in our digestive system, and that would clog everything up, so we absorb it into the bloodstream. And well, if we're not using them, they can't just sit in the bloodstream. These are basically sugars. Our blood would turn into syrup, and that's not healthy for you. So we have to do some molecular shenanigans, some metabolic I don't know what I was going to say, some metabolic trickery, and we rearrange them into fats like triglycerides and such. We turn them into fats and we shove them into fat cells. And so our fat cells actually are tremendously able to store more and more fat. If it wasn't for the fact that we had these, McDonald's and Walmarts and grocery stores all over the place and fast food places, it's actually a wonderful survival mechanism. We're just kind of suffering from the curse of the blessing of overabundance. So we'll store it as fat. Then when our body needs more energy, suppose we stop eating so much for a while and we run around and burn a lot of energy. Our body needs more energy sources. We can pull the fat back out. We can reverse that chemical shenanigans that we've been doing and reconvert them back into like glucose. There's also now, if you're on a keto diet, I know you can use ketones, but let's keep it simple. So let's just, for simplicity, say we're going to change it back into carbohydrate, and then our body burns it up, and then we can excrete the water and we can breathe out the CO2. So when you lose weight, where does the fat go? Mostly you're breathing it out. So okay, I guess that was a little longer than I meant, but I hope that it was enjoyable for you and that you maybe learned something, and that it helps you to appreciate this wonderful, beautiful cycle that we are participants in between ourselves and the plant kingdom. Bye. Bum, 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 bum.